we'd like to introduce Jordan!
Many choices I've made in life have shaped me into the person I am today. Every day we make choices. Some that probably won't have a huge impact on our future, like whether to watch Jersey Shore, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and some we make can change our lives in a huge way. One of the biggest and hardest decisions I've ever made in my life was to move from Minnesota to Vegas this past month. I grew up in Monticello, Minnesota, which is about 45 minutes north of Minneapolis. It's a small town of about 8,000 people. When I was younger, the best thing to do there was go to the roller rink and roller skate. Unfortunately, that turned into a gym, so now the best thing in Monticello are the 2 McDonald's that are there. It sounds like a boring town because, well, it is. However, growing up in such a small town with not a lot to do made it really easy to enjoy the little things. I moved into my house in Monticello when I was 2 years old and stayed there until we moved last January. I love so many things about that house, from our pool to my jungle-themed room to even our basement that had extremely ugly green and brown plaid wallpaper. Although that basement wasn't the most appealing thing to look at, it's honestly where I spent most of my time hanging out with friends, watching TV, and eating tons of food. My summers at that house usually consisted of spending the day standing by my pool, and my nights were spent relaxing in that basement. Hard life, right? When I think back to my memories of that home, they're always good ones. I remember in the winter it always being decorated all over for Christmas, having a yard full of thick snow to play in, and being so warm at night when outside was always so cold. It was really the comfort of the familiar that made it not just a house, but a home. For a few years, I knew the day was going to come eventually that I had to move. My parents always wanted to be in a warmer place once I graduated. So I pretty much knew I was going to move all throughout high school. I just didn't know where to. Up until last summer, the place was always Florida, and I hated the idea of living there because all I pictured were alligators and retired people. Finally, June of 2012 came, and I graduated and was ready to move. I spent my summer looking for apartments in Minneapolis because my plan at the time was to stay in Minnesota since I didn't really mind the cold. But in reality, I'm an 18-year-old college student that can't afford to live on my own. Yet. So I decided to go wherever my parents are going. It also hit me at the time that if I didn't get out of Minnesota then, I probably never would have. In about August, it was decided that Vegas was the place to move because it's warm and inexpensive and easy for friends and family to fly to. I didn't like the idea of living here because when I thought of Vegas, I thought of all the tacky things that usually go on here. And honestly, it took me about 2 weeks of living here to actually start liking it. I realized it's actually a nice place to live since there's so much to do, and all of those things are basically in walking distance. However, leaving my friends, family, brother, and the rest of my family was one of the hardest things I ever had to do. The day before I left, about 10 of my friends and I got together, and I realized how much I meant to everyone there, and how much they meant to me. That day made me so thankful for the 18 years of my life that I spent in Minnesota. I've been living in Las Vegas exactly a month today. Yes, I miss my friends, family, the negative 20-degree weather, and the beautiful house I grew up in. But the decision I made to move here made me realize how much more is out there. I have opportunities ahead of me I might not have had in Minnesota, like going on hikes, going to the ocean, and exploring one of the biggest touring spots in the United States. I'm thankful for the chance to have this adventure and grow up while doing it. And as Jason Mraz once said in a recent song, wherever you go, you can always go back home.
Yay!